think the lack of confidence is always, in a sense, worrying too much about what others think of you.
Absolutely.
Right? Because that's the only reason, at least I've ever felt a little unconfident. It's like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm this or think I'm that, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You place too much of that value on external things, on what people think of you, instead of checking in with yourself. What do you think of yourself? Hey, healthcare providers, you're listening to the Burnt Out to Lit Up podcast. Hosted by myself, Erica, and my husband, Michael. We're an OTPT team that understands the healthcare industry's got some serious issues.
Inspired by our own experience with burnout, we've made it our mission and passion to help you navigate your career in healthcare by cultivating wellness, growing both personally and professionally, and advocating for a better workplace.
Whether you are a clinician or manager, new grad or seasoned vet, join us each week as we share interviews, research, stories, and strategies that will give you the tools to go from burnt out to your most lit up self.
Let's dive in.
So my confidence was shattered as a child.
Confidence.
My confidence was shattered. I remember being in Disney World, you know those big, tall, Princess Rapunzel hats that are like shaped like a cone, and they're tall and they're pink and glittery.
Have like the tassel.
They have a tassel.
Yeah.
Or what's that?
Plumage.
What's that word? Tulle. Like the material is called tulle.
Like TOOL.
E.
E.
Yeah, it's the material that tutus are made out of.
Oh, interesting.
So tulle, I remember, was coming out of this princess hat, and I tried it on. I was maybe, 6 or 7, and I'm looking in the mirror in Disney in this store, and I'm thinking, I'm so beautiful.
I know the story.
I'm such a beautiful princess. And then here I am feeling so confident. Like, I felt like a princess, and I turned back, and my parents are dying laughing at me. They're cracking up. They're hysterical, looking at me, trying on my princess hat,
you were probably
laughing
like
at me.
Posing and like...
I was posing.
Being all like...
Oh, look at me. I'm a
cute.
princess.
Yeah.
I remember posing and feeling just so special and smiling. And my parents are looking at me and they're cracking up.
Shattered.
Shattered. I took off the princess hat.
Aww.
I put it back on the shelf. And I didn't say a word.
They didn't even buy it for you?
No.
Oh my God.
I didn't say anything else.
Oh.
I put it... I immediately took it off, put it back on the shelf, and walked out of the store. And... I was too young to formulate these thoughts, but I just remember feeling stupid, and then putting it away, and then forgetting about it, and my confidence was shattered. That's
so sad. It's just a sad story.
I know, my mom's going to listen to this, and she's probably not going to remember this story, but it happened, because I remember.
You remember.
Oh, man, you know what? I'm also traumatized. I don't like white wine because of an incident that happened when I was a kid.
Really?
Do you know the story?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
It was my first sleepover at the house. First big girl sleepover. First time girls, friends from school came over, and we had a big slumber party with our sleeping bags in the living room. And I had a Minnie Mouse cup. It was pink cup with Minnie Mouse and hearts all around it. And my mother decides to drink her white wine out of my Minnie Mouse cup. Oh. So I remember just being thirsty, seeing my cup on the counter, thinking it was water because it was pink. So when you looked in, it looked clear. Yeah. Like you couldn't tell. And I was so thirsty.
Chugged white wine?
I chugged white wine. I spit it out. And then I'm like, ew. In my mind, I was probably thinking, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Who would drink this garbage?
Without even knowing the words back then.
I still feel like that about white wine.
I don't like white wine. I don't like it. I drink it maybe once every blue moon. Wait, are blue moons common? They're not common.
That would be the right.
That would be the right way to say. I drink white wine maybe when I'm forced to. Like when we were wine tasting in Napa, I drank it.
Yeah, the only time I'm
like forced to.
Yeah, because when you do like really good wine tastings, they do the whites first, and then they do the reds second. I guess
save
so
the
that
best
your
for
palate
last.
is like not as tainted or something.
Yeah, that experience I think traumatized me so that I can't. I'm so disgusted by white wine.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a funny story.
It is a funny story.
It is. It was funny.
Did anything traumatize you in your childhood?
About like confidence.
No, about anything. Let's just story time.
I got lost in Disney.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, but you're not traumatized about being lost. Or
I mean, I guess I was a little too young to be traumatized by it, but I mean, it was a pretty rough situation. I was very scared and sad.
So tell them, okay, it's worth noting. Tell them what happened.
Well, it was in Epcot because I remember seeing the big ball. And I was with my family 1 second, and I turned around the next, and they were all gone, and I had wandered in a different direction, I guess. So I was like, crap. So I like ran over to the big ball. Like I remember like being inside the big ball, looking for
like
my parents.
You weren't. Were you around it? Or
I was around it,
okay.
I guess. Yeah. So I couldn't find them there, so I ran, back to where I was originally like lost. I had this thing in my pocket that my parents gave me. It was like
a business card.
It was like, if I'm lost, give this to someone. And it was like my name and my like address. And
it was like a little business card.
Yeah, it was like a little like help me, I'm lost card. So I gave it to some guy.
Did you even say anything, or you just like handed it to him?
No, I just like ran up to the first person I saw and gave it to him. And he was like, I remember like him looking at it like, what is this? And then,
you're just like, do something. I'm
lost.
I was like,
it's my freaking lost business card, dude. Like, get me to my parents, please. But then before he needed to do anything, my dad ran up. He found me. That's scary, though.
To be lost.
Yeah,
we've been lost in Disney a few times, but those seconds feel like an eternity. Oh man, I was gonna say something about being traumatized, but I forgot.
Right.
It wasn't. Yeah, it's not important.
What's today's app about?
Today's app is about confidence. So yeah, I started my story with my confidence being completely shattered. But honestly, confidence has been something that I've struggled with my whole life, in different forms, in different phases of my life, in different chapters. Just I was probably the most unconfident person in middle school, high school. My confidence hung on the fact whether if I was well received by my peers or not. And I just remember so many days of my life, just really my self-worth was hung on other people's approval of me, which I'm sure many people can relate to, especially growing up. I was just not confident at all. And I feel like just me growing up, just comparing myself to people I know, me growing up, it was just like a little harder. And everyone's journey is their own journey, and not to compare your journey to other people's, but I was constantly comparing myself to people that I thought were always happier and more confident. And I always felt like I was struggling with confidence, struggling with being myself, struggling with self-esteem always. And I felt like I struggled a lot more when I compared myself to other people, not knowing what they were going through, because you never know what other people are going through. Well, confidence at work, when you become an adult and you have these struggles with confidence, and I always did. And that stayed with me up until, I started to work as an adult, as an occupational therapist. So this episode is about 3 little hacks that you can do coming from a person that really struggled with confidence. And now I've gotten to a point where now you
only struggle a little bit with confidence.
Just un poquitico. Un poco, just a little bit. I'm not perfect, and I'm happy to admit that, because I'm entering this phase of my life where, okay, we're podcasting, we're getting in front of a lot of people. It's really important as an entrepreneur to not hang your self-worth or the worth of your business or anything for that matter on trolls or negative comments or anything negative. Take things at face value, learn from things when appropriate to learn. But if it's someone just straight up hating on you, if I were younger and someone was hating on me, I would lose it. I would cry. I would think I'm stupid. I'm not worth it. And then these are just people's opinions. not that I received a ton of hate growing up, but just, people that don't approve of you, and you hear about it, and maybe you read comments about it. I mean, I had MySpace. I think I had like one negative comment somewhere online. I think it was like one of my live journals.
I think a lack of confidence is always, in a sense, worrying too much about what others think of you.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only reason, at least I've ever felt a little unconfident, is like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm this, or think I'm that, or think I'm dumb, or think I'm, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You place too much of that value on external things, or on what people think of you, instead of checking in with yourself. What do you think of yourself? I think confidence comes from a place where it doesn't waver, it doesn't rely on those outside factors. It comes from a very internal place of how you feel with yourself, regardless of things that are happening outside of you. And so when I entered the workforce, everything that I was doing and everything about how I felt, how I showed up, was all, again, hung on other people. And I was so eager to please everyone. And my confidence stemmed from that. And that made me sometimes, if I was received well, or maybe I was getting some feedback that wasn't so well, that really affected me. So I was never stable. I was always either really high or really low in terms of my emotions and how I was perceiving people, that were like how they were perceiving me. So 3 tips.
Let's get to the hacks.
Yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to the hacks. So the first one is personal growth is a must. And if you're listening to this podcast, I can already tell that you're in the right direction.
You're in the right place.
Because you're taking your personal growth seriously. And when I was dealing with all of these issues with confidence, I actually got feedback one time from my supervisor. So my supervisor was on maternity leave at work, and she came back, and I guess there were little spies in the clinic that reported back to her on how I was doing during her time away. So we had a meeting like 2 weeks after she had come back, or like maybe a week. It was 1 to 2 weeks after she had come back from her leave. And she was talking to me about confidence, about all these things that happened while she was gone. And I felt a little, that totally took me by surprise. I didn't know people were spying on me. I didn't, and that's how it felt like. And she came to me with this news in the best way she could have, but it was like maybe motives from other people, where if I would have received support while she was gone from other people, maybe other supervisors, that would have been helpful, instead of this report that came to her out of all the months that she was gone about, hey, you're lacking in confidence when you speak with patients and their parents. And this was maybe a few months within the first year of me working, and I was trying to hold back the tears. I was like, I can't believe this, because I just do my best every day, and the way it was coming to me was, again, she hadn't observed this. These were stories from other people spying on me. And I just wish there was a more direct, honest approach. Maybe while she was gone, if someone could have stepped in as, okay, we can have meetings with you every other week or something like that, where it wasn't so much of a surprise. And that, in that moment, I realized that I know I'm not confident. You're right. Like, ultimately, you're right. And what these people told you, they were right, that I wasn't confident. And during this time, I was not doing any personal development. I had never done personal development before. So what personal development is, and personal growth, is not just, reading a quote on Pinterest. Like, I used to pin a ton of quotes, and I'm still pretty active on Pinterest. But I used to just do that, and that was it. When I was feeling sad, I would pin a quote, and that would make me feel better. But no matter what you're going through in life, no matter what you're doing, no matter what stage you're in your life, personal development should always be at the forefront. For some people, personal development can be more of a spiritual thing. It doesn't have to be at all. But for me, it developed into something that became more spiritual. So the way you choose to develop yourself your inner armor. This is like, imagine you have an inner armor, you have shield, and these are the things that you wear every day. Not that you're preparing to battle, but these are just the things that help you grow every day. You take your vitamins, or I remember as a kid taking the Flintstone vitamins.
Yeah, delicious.
Not so delicious. They're kind of chalky.
No, they were weren't they fruity?
Yeah, but they were still chalky. Oh. But yeah, I can taste it in my mouth right now. Can you?
No.
Like you don't remember what they tasted like?
Not really. I'm not sure that I took those.
Well, you just, yeah, they were fruity. You're right, but they were chalky.
Oh, I just assumed they were fruity.
They were fruity chalky. Like you take your vitamins every day, or maybe you don't, but maybe hopefully you brush your teeth every day, you floss every day, you get enough sleep every day, you eat your fruits and vegetables every day. So, okay, you're taking care of your body and your hygiene, but what are you doing every day to take care of your soul, your spirit, your mind? So once I started to engage in personal development, I was so obsessed with it that I was consuming podcasts and books and so many of those things on for hours every day. And I had to play a lot of catch up for all the years of my life where I was just stuck in my own little mental rut of I'm not good enough and no one likes me. And once I started to arm myself with personal development, I felt empowered. Like this was the first time in my life that I felt confident. And it didn't happen overnight because this took years. I started personal development in 2015 for the first time. And so for some people, it looks like a meditation every day. For some people, it's reading books or reading articles. For some people, it could be listening to podcasts like you're doing now, listening to books on audio, like on Audible. And I would recommend for anyone that wants to start, if you need some guidance, I recommend You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. It's a book. It's also on Audible. She also has another one called You Are a Badass with Money. I've read both of them. And You Are a Badass is like the starter kit for personal growth. It's like, I can't even begin to say like every day since 2015, most days, okay, not every single day, but most days since then, I've engaged in some form of personal growth. And to think of the person I was then and 3 years later, the person I am now, a lot of that has been shaped by personal growth. And sometimes I would search on YouTube, Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins. Oh my God, they have the same last name, but they're not related. Lewis Howes, all these magnificent characters. And the more you start to dive into this world, the more people you start to discover and the more content you're consuming. And it's just a must. And the reason why I started was because I started to do online fitness and health coaching back in 2015 through a multi-level marketing company. So they recommended personal growth. And although it had nothing to do with the business, they constantly preach the power of growing yourself. And so there's many things that I'm thankful for being a part of that experience, although I no longer am a part of that company. It's been years since I've been in a multi-level marketing company. But I really have to thank them for getting me started on this journey, because now as a clinician, as an entrepreneur, especially, wherever you are in life, personal growth, now it's not so stigmatized, I think, because the self-help, I think maybe 10 years ago, or I just self-help was so cheesy back then, but now I think it's trendy, and self-care and all that is trendy. For a reason, because I think we're really realizing the importance of taking care of ourselves so that we can be more confident and take care of others better. So yeah, that was a component I was totally missing. Even though I joined this company in 2015, and the worst time of my life where I burned out was in 2016, I kind of fell off the personal growth wagon during a time. So I wasn't perfect with it at first. And it took many other factors in terms of working and talking to people, having a social support, combined with personal growth. But I think that for confidence, you got to start there. In 2017, I attended Lewis Howes' Summit of Greatness, and it was primarily geared towards entrepreneurs. But I think attending workshops and conferences in person are also a huge game changer in terms of personal growth, because you get to meet other people that are just like you, that are on the same journey, that have the same mission. And so you start to surround yourself with people that want to grow. And I could talk about personal growth forever, but I can't emphasize it enough. You have to start there. You're not above it. There's personal growth for everyone. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be a book by Hay House. Hay House is a huge publishing company. It could be anything that you resonate with. And you got to start somewhere. Okay. One book at a time, one podcast at a time. So again, you're listening obviously to this one. So I applaud you. There's many more podcasts out there, many more books. And that's how you start with your personal growth. Number 2, don't fake it until you make it. Become what you believe and keep redefining that. So tell yourself something that you actually believe about yourself so that you may become it. When I first started out, I had that fake it till you make it thing, but for me, it made me more nervous because I clearly had a lot of issues faking something I didn't believe that I could be. And I think I looked more nervous in the beginning. I was definitely really nervous showing off, or just showing my skills. Nervous when supervisors were around me. I was feeling judged, and I had to really I felt like I had to be someone I wasn't. Had to really fake it. And that's the advice you always get. Fake it until you make it. And I, to some degree, okay, I get where that's coming from. That's coming from a place of good intentions. But I believe something even better is to tell yourself something that you believe. So for example, if you come up with a thought, like the fake it till you make it mentality, okay, I am 100% beaming with confidence all the time, and I'm just going to show up like that. That's really fake for me. That was fake for me. So now, let's argue now that phrase is unbelievable for you right now. So if it's unbelievable, you can't become it. So instead, craft a better statement that still challenges you to grow outside of your comfort zone, but is something believable. So turning that statement, I am 100% beaming with confidence all the time, into something like, for example, if it's just for work, I will do my best every moment I'm given. And if I mess up, that's okay. I just thought of that off the top of my head. You can journal this. This was a journaling exercise for me with certain blocks in my life at the moment. And so this is something you really have to think about. Take your original thought that you don't believe and craft something that you do believe instead. So, okay, I'm trying my best. And if I mess up, that's okay. Because I know if I mess up, I'm always very hard on myself. And coming from a place that is believable.
I think, therefore I am. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a French philosopher, Descartes. Basically, pretty much what you just said.
Yeah. So actually, I attended a workshop this year, or in early 2018, this speaker's workshop, so I can become a public speaker. And we had a lot of acting drills. We had a lot of improv acting activities that day. It was like a 3-day workshop. So one of the days, it was like an improv day. And we had to pull a card out of a hat. And whatever it said, we had to introduce ourselves that way. So if it said angry, you had to introduce yourself as someone angry. I got the cool card. So I had to introduce myself as someone that's cool. And
that was a struggle for you.
No, it wasn't, actually. So
that was kind of a joke.
That was a joke. Oh my God.
Am I funny?
You're funny, not. What was that movie?
I don't know.
You're funny, not. Your shirt is black, not. Your shirt is not black. What's that movie?
I have no idea.
And Okay, forget it.
Anyway.
So I pulled the cool card. I had to introduce myself as someone that's cool. And the feedback I got, it was a very intimate workshop. So the feedback I got, because they had known this was day 2. So day 1, we had to really introduce ourselves. And on day 2, after this exercise, one of the instructors was pointing out to me that I showed up as cool and that I was really confident during that activity.
Awesome.
Because it was a matter of, I was told I had to play it cool, and I decided to be cool, and therefore I was cool. And I believed it. I believed it. And some of them were really out there and funny, but the whole point of that exercise is that whatever you say, whatever you tell yourself you are, you become. If you're anxious, you're right. If you can't
do something, you can't do it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something specific, but you are what you tell yourself. But also, I believe that if you give yourself something that is too out there, you're not quite there yet, bring it down a little bit. Bring it down to something that you can achieve today. Because 100% beaming confidence all the time, first of all, not realistic for most people. And second of all, you might not be there today. You might be there a year from now, but what can you do today that will help you to exude confidence at work? Maybe you can say, I'll be confident. I can be confident 50% of the time. Or I'm going to be cool today when I talk to this particular patient. And just start with moments. Start crafting moments that are believable. And what's funny about me is that this may be superficial, but whenever I do my hair and makeup, I feel a lot better about myself. If I'm like right now, I'm in my sweatpants and my sweatshirt and my hair's in a ponytail, and I did shower today, but I just feel like this isn't my most confident self. I feel like when I take the time to take care of myself and put effort into how I look, even if you're going to work, not that you have to be all done up, but even if you put just a little bit of effort to look put together, for me, that means that I take my appearance seriously and I'm more confident. That just works in my favor. So that's number 2. Tell yourself, practice building up your confident thoughts every day. Make it so that it challenges you. You can grow out of your comfort zone, but something you believe. You can tell this to yourself in the morning, right when you get out of bed, in the shower, on the drive to work. Become it, embody it, embrace it. And then from there, keep growing. Okay. I know we all have our journeys. We all have, we might not be where we want to be, and it might take some time to get there, but that's okay. That's a part of growing. Okay. Last one is, don't confuse confidence with being a know-it-all or not being able to ask for help. So I've seen confidence being confused with arrogance. In this process, be clear with what you know and what you don't know. In fact, when you admit that you don't know something, you can come off as even more confident versus trying to fake an answer when it's clearly clear that you don't know it, and it makes you look stupid. It makes you look insecure or doubtful and nervous. I've seen confident people admit that they don't have all the answers, and that's really refreshing because you can be confident and not a know-it-all. Confident people, they have this inner confidence in themselves, and they are on a continual quest to seek knowledge and better themselves, and they're not afraid to admit that they don't know the answer. They can look it up and get back to you, but they don't know it. Being confident but humble. Be confident and radiant, and you can still not be arrogant about it. Not every moment of your life will be sunshine and rainbows, for sure, but developing the muscle of confidence takes time, even when you don't feel like it. It takes time to develop this muscle, just like you would develop any muscle in the gym. It takes consistency, it takes a training schedule, it takes time. So develop the muscle of confidence in your mind with constant personal growth, with your mantras, with your affirmations that are believable, with your actions, with how you show up every day. Empower yourself to be your best self more and more frequently. Don't wait to be confident, because then it'll never happen. That's what happened to me. I was just waiting until maybe I had enough experience under my belt 10 years down the road to be more confident. So I took it into my own hands, and on my quest for personal development, it's a never ending quest. It's never going to end. And if you feel like you've ended growing, then you clearly have a lot more growing to do.
Deep.
Yeah. Heart to heart, someone that struggled with confidence, it takes a lot of confidence to show up for the show. And sometimes I have to admit, I don't feel confident 100% of the time I'm recording, but this is something that I'm pushing myself to do, and I've pushed myself to do for a year, and I have grown in this process. And I'm happy that you're here, Mike, with me, doing this with me together. And, learning doesn't have to be so serious. You don't have to take yourself so seriously when you're growing and learning. Laugh at yourself. And I feel like when you laugh at yourself and you have humor about it, you're kinder to yourself. And everything, I think one of the biggest takeaways, this is a bonus, is don't be afraid to fail and fall flat on your face. It's in this learning and growing in your confidence that that sometimes you're going to have to put out things that aren't your best. But in order to develop your craft, you have to start somewhere and be okay with starting off bad. You're not going to start your first day at work being 100% yourself. That takes lots of time and development and honing of your craft as a clinician, in healthcare, as a person. And I think the more you grow as a person, the more you can grow in your job, because you are more than your job.
Yeah. What you said about something you said sounded like a Yoda quote.
What was it?
It was like, if you think you're done growing, much to learn you still have.
Yeah. So that's true. I recommend, I love The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. That's an amazing podcast that's been there for me every step of the way when I first begun with personal development. You Are a Badass, the book, or you can listen to it on Audible by Jen Sincero. And I have other personal recommendations like Lori Harder. She has a podcast, Earn Your Happy. We
got loads of books.
We have loads of stuff.
If you guys want to email us, email podcast@joyenergytime.com.
We can give you some recommendations.
Serious advice.
Yeah, I have, again, 3 years of this under my belt and many more years to come. But from what I've learned from all these people in the past few years is that you are your own limitation. Whether you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. And there's a lot more to it than that. And if you would have told me that a few years ago, sure, I would have been like, yeah, that's a cool phrase. That's a cool quote. That's something I can pin or like repin or repost. But it takes a lot of unraveling all the layers of the things that hold you back. And it takes a lot of reading, learning, consuming from different types of people so that you can be well-rounded.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And I think also learning, taking your professional development to a whole other level so that whatever niche you're in, that you also develop time in your week, in your month to read articles, research in the area you're working in, so that not only are you growing personally, but you're constantly staying abreast and you're honing your professional skills, which should be a lifelong journey, but easier said than done. If you're not taking the time to grow personally, then how are you committing to anything else 100%? So I think it all begins with the personal growth.
Yeah, you hit it. Well done.
I hit it out of the park?
Out of the park.
10 out of 10?
Yep. I'm holding up a card that says
Nothing
10.
but net.
Pretty much. Go forth, folks, and confide.
Is that a phrase? Did you just make that up?
I don't know. It's confidence. Confidence root would be confide, I guess, right?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, give us a like, give us a subscribe if you are finding some benefit from the podcast. We would super appreciate that. A little bit of feedback in the comments section would be amazing. 5-star rating would be even better. Go ahead and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/burntouttolitup. And
our Instagram, burnt out to lit up.
Insta, Burnt Out to Lit Up. Facebook, Burnt Out to Lit Up. Find us on the nets.
On the interwebs. I'll see you later.
Goodbye, guys.